There's only one thing that I love more than the country that I live in, and that's the three-letter agencies that my country runs, including, but not limited to, the CIA. The CIA, along with a lot of the other three-letter agencies that run our great country, have done a lot of good for its citizens, as most of you will probably know this, but they always have us, the US citizens, at its heart and in its mind. And that is why in today's video, we're going to be talking about all the good things that the CIA have done on this iceberg. Yes, we're diving into icebergs on this channel now. And I figured we would start doing icebergs with probably the iceberg that has the highest chance of catching me a ride on the sewer side, so to speak. I probably don't have to explain this to you because if you're watching this video, you probably enjoy Wendigoon's videos, right? But an iceberg basically starts at the top, which this is supposed to be like the most known things, and then it goes to the bottom, the more obscure things. Today's episode, we're gonna start at the top, because that's how it works. This iceberg, however, is a little different from the others. You might notice that there are two distinctive colors, olive green and bright neon green. The olive green are things confirmed that the CIA have been involved in. The bright neon green are things that we believe the CIA are involved in. Now, they can be involved in a lot of the neon green things. It just hasn't been confirmed by the CIA themselves, or there has been some sort of cover-up, or it's alleged, stuff like that. Whereas the olive green, we know this because the CIA themselves have confirmed it in some way, shape, or form, or someone along the way has confirmed it in some way, shape, or form. The CIA have done a lot, and I mean a lot. And a lot of the things at the top of this list are probably things that either you've only heard of in passing or you've never heard of in the first place. Be prepared for that, basically the entire list, because a lot of this is heavily complex, heavily detailed, and has a lot of implications that personally I don't enjoy. And just to let you know off the bat, I will not be doing a full-on deep dive into a lot of these on this video, because this video is long enough already and I don't feel like having a 5-hour test about how Air America ties into MK Ultra, which is another thing you will see a lot on this list. Most of the things on this list directly tie back to each other in some way, shape, or form. So be prepared for that as well. We are going to be attaching a lot of red threads. And before we get into the video, I do just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for the support that you guys have been giving me. It has been amazing. We have been growing as a community a lot recently. And if you would like to join that community, I'm going to be linking the Discord down below. Anyways, let's get back into the video. So the first thing up on our list is a little known thing called Air America. Air America was a supply line and cargo company that was ran by the United States in Asia. Little did anyone know, though, that it was covertly operated by the CIA. Now you might be asking yourself, well, what purpose does the CIA have with a cargo line? They have a lot of purposes with a cargo line, including smuggling drugs into America to support guerrilla warfare in other countries. Because you see, this is something we're going to be talking about a lot in this video, but the CIA was supporting these guerrilla war groups in Vietnam and throughout a lot of Communist Party-centric kind of areas. And how they would do that is they would sell the drugs into the United States, use the money that they made from the United States to directly fund the wars that they are doing, giving a lot of these freedom fighters weapons, supplies, food, ammunition, and the likes. Now there's a lot to go into with Air America itself, but it's not something that I can do in one video, honestly. On top of that, Air America actually directly ties into something we are going to be talking about later on this list, called the Civil Air Transport, so keep that in mind while we're talking about it. It also has a movie based on it called Air America, which is a comedy movie with Robert Downey Jr. So if you want to go see Iron Man in the Vietnam War, there it is. Next up, we have the disposition matrix, which isn't actually a operation or anything that the CIA did. It's more so a fancy word that the CIA made up to cover up a less fancy word and a lot more scary word, because disposition matrix just means list. Unlike other lists though, the disposition matrix was a little different. This was put in place by the Obama administration during the war on terrorism. So specifically, the list is for people who are anti-American or enemies of the state. And these were people that would probably be killed by drone strike, because the way the disposition matrix worked was this was a way for them to kind of assassinate people without putting troops on the ground. So if you ever see the word disposition matrix out there randomly, that's what that means. It just means kill list. It means that whoever they're talking about is probably going to die by drone strike. Now, this is the point in the video where I need to remind you that the olive green text means that this is a confirmed thing that the CIA did. All of what we are about to talk about has happened, because now we're getting into the Fidel Castro assassination attempts, which are the dumbest things I have ever seen or ever heard the CIA do. If you don't know who Fidel Castro is, he's the guy that all the college communists wear on their shirt. He's also the guy that was the dictator of Cuba during the Cold War. He was not a very fun person, and he was not a very good person. Most Cubans, if you ask them today, hate the guy for obvious reasons. And so did the CIA and, the United States government, because he was also working very, very closely with the Soviet Union. They attempted to assassinate this man over 600 times in not just physical assassination, but also character assassination. And each and every single time, it failed. It failed so much, actually, that they were throwing literally everything in the book at this man. I'm not going to be going over all of the ways they try to kill Fidel Castro. Maybe we'll do that some other time in like a tier list or something. But the most notable ones are the funniest, because they're very, very Looney Tunes-esque. Such as trying to kill the man with an exploding cigar. I'm not joking. Trying to poison him several different times only for the dude who was supplying the poison to Fidel to get cold feet and run away. In which they also hired mobsters out to get this whole thing going. It was really weird, and it's like a whole side story. They hid explosives in seashells because he liked scuba diving, so they were hoping that when he took them home, it would blow up and kill him. They also lined his scuba suit with tuberculosis, hoping that that would kill him too. They even got a woman that he was sleeping with to try and assassinate him through poison, and when he figured this out, he handed her his gun and told her, "Try and kill me, no one can kill me." And then she cried, and then I don't fucking know, dude. I don't know what the CIA were smoking, but it was not working. They also tried to assassinate his character by pumping LSD through the vents of one of his offices when he was giving a speech to Cuba. He did not get high, so yeah. The black sites are sites around the world that are used to hold terrorists and enemies of the state. These are sites that are not known, basically. No one knows where they are, we only know what countries they are in. Black sites tie into a lot of what we are going to talk about later down this list, so remember that they exist. They are horrifying. A lot of things that go on in the black sites are torture and death, mainly, and just trying to get intelligence out of people. These are not good places to be. So don't get kidnapped by the CIA, because you will be extradited out to another country. Next up on our list, we have probably the most famous one that everyone knows kind of in passing next to MKUltra. This is the Watergate scandal. The Nixon administration during the 70s tried to cover up a burglary that happened during the Nixon era of the United States. This was a burglary into the Watergate building in Washington. Why did they do this? Well, it was to cover up a bunch of financial bullshit and basically try and hide a lot of evidence of malpractice, is the best way I can put it. It's a massive, massive scandal, and there are plenty of videos that are going to be able to explain the Watergate scandal way better than I can, because I'm not a historian. I just like talking shit. So don't expect me to go through full detail, but I will be breaking down a little bit of it. This was actually the scandal that ended up getting Nixon to resign from presidency, because a lot of crazy shit happened here, including a kidnapping of one of his own staff. During the Watergate scandal, Nixon was trying to cover up literally everything he can, and he was trying to impede the investigation the FBI was trying to go through. He also ended up kidnapping a woman by the name of Martha Michelle, who was on the staff of Nixon during the time and had quite a bit of information on Watergate at the time. There was also a lot of wiretapping going on within the White House. There was a lot of information being leaked out and through to different three-letter agencies. It's a giant mess that affected our country in a very crazy way. The very interesting thing about the Watergate scandal is that we still kind of don't know why it even happened in the first place. No one has really said anything about why the burglary took place. No one knows what they took or what they were trying to take. There are some instances from a court case in 2013 where they said that they were hoping to find Cuban funding in the Democratic Party during this election cycle. But that's literally all we know about why this happened. So just keep that in mind, that the CIA most definitely is hiding something with that, because that's horrifying. Next up on the list, we have something that is actually a little more impactful onto the citizens of the United States. This was a project called HT Lingual. This was a secret project created by the government in the Cold War to intercept packages that were being sent from America to Soviet Union or China, basically. Trying to see what is being sent out to communist countries so that way they didn't get the upper hand on them, to make sure that there was no leaks going out or anything like that. A little bit of an issue is that's what it was supposed to do. What actually ended up happening was they used this program to open the mail of political activists within the country, which you're not supposed to do, but the CIA did it anyways. They opened about 215,000 packages alone within the Los Angeles area and within the Washington area, and all of these were from political activists within the country itself. It was shut down apparently after this, but hey, who knows? Who knows? So just letting you know, it's probably not a surprise, honestly, but if you have any extreme political takes, they're probably looking through your mail. So next up on this list, we have what is called a black budget. Now, a black budget is something that almost every government around the world does. It is not specific to just us or the CIA. What it is, however, is a part of our military funding. You know, the thing that us taxpayers pay the most for. It's about 7 to 8% of that. We do not get to know what is being funded through the black budget. We also do not get to know what it's used for, what comes out of it, or anything like that until it is released by the CIA about 40 to 50 years later. Every single operation that we have talked about so far and will talk about in the near future have been funded directly through black budgets. Which at that point you might be asking, if there's a black budget going on, why the hell did they sell into the United States to fund guerrilla war going on in the communist countries? That's because back then the black budget barely existed, and so they needed funding for it. I don't know why they sold crack into our own country, but they did, and it completely destabilized the community. So I'm almost positive there was a that they were trying to brew up. Allegedly in Minecraft. There's no actual evidence of this, but I'm just saying. Up next on our list, we have something called Contras. Now, Contras are very interesting because these are the guerrilla fighters that we were talking about earlier. These were the fighters that were being supplied by selling drugs into the United States. The American government used these to try and take down a lot of the communist regimes. A lot of the times they did take down the communist regimes that were running the countries. But then, when they did, we would implement a dictator of our own into the country that would destabilize the country, and then we would have to rinse and repeat a lot of the time. We were literally just creating bad guys for a good minute. So that's what Contras are. Now, this next one on this list, I have to be pretty careful talking about because I don't want this video getting striked. I also have to mention at this point that everything that I am talking about up until this point is usually on the CIA's own website, because they have their own documents on file there, which if you guys want to see any of the things that I'm talking about, one, they'll be linked down below in the description, or two, you can just look them up yourselves because this is easily available information, except for the one that we're talking about. These are the Pakistani drives, fake drives that the CIA organized. And it's why the Pakistani people have such a big issue believing us when we try and give them any sort of medicine that gets injected to make you immune to diseases. I know I'm dancing around the word, but I don't have a damn clue about how YouTube treats it at this point in time, even though the pandemic is over. During the Osama bin Laden era, the war on terrorism. In Pakistan, the CIA would go to different cities that they believed he would be living in with fake drives for the polio disease, tricking everyone in the city to believe that it's real, when in actuality this was just a ploy to see if they could get Osama's DNA. This has led to a lot of distrust in the US government of the Pakistani people. Well, I don't see why not. You know, we lied to them about drives and that make you immune to disease, so it makes sense that they don't trust a damn thing we do anymore. These happened for years on end, by the way. This was not just like a one-time thing. This was going on for about like 5 to 6 years straight. So thank you, CIA, for making yet another country's people distrust the shit out of us. This next one is something that everyone kind of already knows, but isn't really talked about a lot, which is the fact that Google is partially funded by the CIA. Not really anything interesting there, but what is interesting is the fact that its inception was also basically started by the CIA. Because during the inception of Google, they took in a lot of business grants, and a lot of those grants came from the intelligence community of the time, including the CIA and the NSA. It's no secret that the CIA, NSA, FBI, all the three-letter agencies probably have a backdoor to Google in some way, shape, or form, but for some reason Google really likes denying this. And so does the CIA. They really enjoy denying this. It's like the most obvious thing in the world, but yet for some reason they deny this. This next one was not on the list, but it's something that I found through research for everything else. This is a part of the CIA's website called Spy Kids. I wanted to put it on this list simply because I found it super interesting what they actually talk about on here. Now, the Spy Kids part of the CIA.gov website is clearly propaganda to try and get children interested in joining the CIA. Interestingly enough, the things that they try and brag about to children are the fact that they strapped cameras to pigeons and used them as spy drones, which I thought that was a joke. I didn't think that was actually like something the CIA did. I thought that was like a haha funny joke that was started on 4chan, but that's actually something the CIA has on their website. So there might actually be some sort of proof or evidence that the CIA actually does have bird drones. That's fucking crazy. Next up on our list, we have Radio Free Asia. Now, this is probably one of the only good things that the CIA has done. Radio Free Asia was a way to give free information to communist countries in Asia, specifically to China. This helped a lot of the rebels get the information they needed about a lot of different stuff for democracy, basically, and to spread the word of anti-communist, I don't even know the word for it, but you know what I'm talking about. This also directly ties into something else that's going to be coming along the list here pretty soon, called Radio Free Europe or Radio Liberty, which clearly started by the CIA for an anti-communist purpose. So just keep that in mind, that's what this is. Next up on our list, we have something everyone knows about but seemingly forgets for some reason, and that's the CIA's tendency to influence the masses through Hollywood, which is a confirmed thing they do, by the way. They have pages on this on their own website, which, if you don't know what Hollywood influence is, it's literally the thing that everyone gets influenced by. Hollywood is the place where influencers live in general, and this is why you should never trust anything that comes out of an actor's mouth, especially when talking about politics, because the CIA does pay off influencers, actors, and all those fun people to say shit that they want said. The reason why they do this is because they know that people like us look up to these people. They know that they are influential. They know that their actor status in movies and stuff for some reason has a pull on people. So they use them to spread the message that they want spread, even if that message hurts the American people. They did this a lot during the Cold War to spread anti-communist sentiment, and they still do it today, which you can find very evident in a lot of the ways politics runs. Because if you haven't seen any of those weird videos where all the people from Hollywood come together and it's like a weird collage of them just being like, you can't vote for Mr. James Summer Balsington because he's bad for the United States. That's who's funding that, is the CIA. So don't trust actors or actresses with anything that they say. For the love of God, don't do that, because the CIA is funding them to influence you and gaslight you into whatever belief they have. Do your own research. Do not listen to actors. I don't give a f if it's Kevin Hart saying it. Don't do it. Quick little fun fact that has nothing to do with the CIA, but did you know the courts of the United States do not like having court hearings when an actor is involved? Did you know that? That's because of how they're trained. If an actor's too good, it's really hard to tell if they're lying or not. So there's a fun little tidbit. So you guys remember at the very beginning of this video when I said a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about directly tie into each other? Well, we're at one of those points because now we're talking about the civil air transport, which directly ties into the first thing we talked about on this list, Air America. Civil Air Transport was a Asian-owned airline that was actually covertly operated by the CIA to smuggle drugs and weaponry in and out of multiple countries. It's almost the exact same thing as Air America, except this one had a lot more of a pivotal role in Vietnam itself. It also had a very pivotal role in China itself when there were revolutionists fighting against communist China and Mao Zedong. There is a lot of history on this, so much so that I actually don't even know where to start because there are pages upon pages upon pages of information on civil air transport on the CIA's own website. So if you would like to look into this a lot more, go for it. Because if I did that, it would be like 10-hour videos, which I don't want to do, so look into it. Next up on our list, we have extraordinary renditions, which is just a fancy word for state-funded kidnapping. I'm not joking. You guys remember the black sites we mentioned like 10 minutes ago? Well, this is how they get you to them. Within black sites, there is no course of bail. Most people that go into black sites are unknown, so you'll just have people just randomly vanish. That's because they get extraordinary renditions. These are state-funded kidnappings into third-party countries or states. Now, it's horrifying because there's not really any rhyme or reason explained as to how this can happen, but it's usually just summed up to, oh, well, they're an enemy of the state. So if you see extraordinary rendition being tossed around in any paper, article, or news feed that you happen to stumble upon, that's what that means. It means that they're talking about a kidnapping. Radio Free Europe, or Radio Liberty, is basically what came before Radio Free Asia. This was a way for the government to get information to countries where it was deemed illegal for the free flow of information to exist, which is really cool that we have something like this. This is the only way you can get access to information and analysis of certain topics within countries where information is banned. This helps a lot of freedom fighters out with information that they need to spread their sentiment and also to make sure that they don't put their lives at risk. So kudos to the CIA for the Radio Liberty projects because those are really cool. The National Student Association, or the NSA for short, is an association built upon college students. There's no real other way to say that. College students from around the world that are like the top of the top. This is supposed to represent them, right? Which makes sense why the CIA would fund them in the first place, because the CIA likes to try and get the best and the brightest into their organization. It was not known until the 1950s that the CIA was actually funding them. And when this was found out, the NSA put it up to vote to see if the people that they were representing would want to still take the CIA's funding. It was voted no, and they stopped taking funding from the CIA, paying off their own bills and whatnot from there on. And they still exist to this day, CIA free, sort of. And the reason why I say sort of is because the CIA still recruits from the NSA. So just letting you guys know, if you want a real easy in to the CIA, either become an international hacker or join the NSA. Those are the two easiest ways to do it. Up next, we have probably one of the craziest ones on this list. This is called Project Mockingbird, and there's no other way to explain it besides that there should probably be either a TV show or a movie made on this, because this is one of the craziest projects that the CIA has ever had to run for a very interesting reason. The CIA during the 1970s found out that there were two writers in the newspaper leaking information directly out from the CIA. They didn't know who these people were, but that's why they ran Project Mockingbird. This actually directly ties into the HT Lingual project that we talked about earlier, because that's how they found these guys out. They were tapping into a bunch of people's mail, so they were like, hey, we got 2 people in the newspaper specifically leaking information from the CIA. Let's go and track newspaper article lists and see what the fuck's going on there and if we can find anything. And find things they did. Because not only did they find out who these 2 leakers were, they found out that there was an entire organization within the CIA leaking information to them. An organization of about like 25 to 30 people in the CIA leaking documents outside to the public. The 2 main men and suspects in question being Robert S. Allen and Paul J. Scott. Those names mean literally nothing to me because I couldn't read all 70 pages of this operation that happened, but this could be a video in itself. Because the really interesting part about this story is that they found everyone out except for one person, who only is known to this day as Mr. X. There is someone within the CIA, or was someone within the CIA, that was never found out to have been leaking documents outside of the CIA and is still not caught to this day. What were the documents being leaked? I have no idea, but apparently it was enough for the CIA to get alarms raised because they started wiretapping people within the CIA as well. Really interesting story, and I hope someone makes a video on it because I would love to watch that. Next up, what we have on this list is the Bay of Pigs invasion. Now, if you are spastic and you really like history, you probably know what this is. If not, let me explain it to you. The Bay of Pigs invasion was a failed military landing within Cuba during the Cold War. This was directly funded by the United States government and was ran by Cuban revolutionists, basically, to try and take down Fidel Castro, the enemy of the CIA. Mr. Castro really was like the main villain for the CIA for a lot of different things they did during the Cold War. How this failed was actually kind of crazy, because we had B-2 bombers dropping bombs on a lot of Cuban shit at this point in time during the Bay of Pigs invasion. Cuba won. This was a massive failure on our end, because they not only did they take down 2 bombers of ours, they also killed 4 of our soldiers and captured all of the revolutionaries. Any of them that lived were captured. That is a failure upon failures. How the hell does that even happen? And all this ended up doing, by the way, was securing the Soviet Union's relationship with Cuba even more, because after this, they became fierce partners. I believe this is what led up to Castro's assassinations. I don't remember if this took place before some of them or after some of them. It might have even been somewhere in the middle, because the Cold War was a crazy time where the CIA were doing a lot of crazy, wacky, and very horrendous shit. Up next, we have Congress for Cultural Freedom. This was a organization started almost directly after World War II and coming into the 50s. The Congress of Cultural Freedoms was a way for the CIA to fund people who did not believe in communist sentiment. Basically what they would do was they were gathering a shit ton of money to hire out people who already didn't believe in communist sentiment to go into communist countries and fuck with them, making people have disbelief in the ways of communism themselves. This was actually so successful that they continued this up until the 80s. Because basically all it was doing was taking people's questions about communism and raising them up to 100 by having contrarians infiltrate. So while Mr. Stalin over here would be giving a speech about communism, he would have one dude in the crowd being like, but is it though? Is that really the way to go? And then it actually like worked. Think about it as a mass psyop to get people to stop being communists. This one is probably one of the crazier ones on this list, and it is the final one in the first tier of our iceberg. Crypto AG. The one that scared me the most finding out. And yes, this is confirmed, but unfortunately not by the CIA, as this was leaked out in 2018. Crypto AG, or better known as Operation Rubicon, is a company owned solely by the CIA who sends out encryption technology around the world. Encryption technology, if you guys don't know, is basically what is used to make sure that your texts, your video calls, your actual calls, your passwords, everything that you do online or through the internet is encrypted behind code. That's what Crypto AG basically is. Specifically though, Crypto AG specialized in like military contracts and like business contracts and stuff like that for very sensitive information. This is a Swedish company that no one knows who the fuck the actual owners of the company were to begin with. The managers who were running the crypto AG fronts had no idea. Not until 2018, when everyone found out that it was actually the CIA who owned and operated this goddamn place. Which actually checks out, because the only two places in the world that don't have technology from crypto AG were the Soviet Union and China, meaning those two motherfuckers knew and just didn't tell anyone about it. The reason why this was so bad is because this basically gave the CIA a backdoor to literally any and all sensitive information to just about anything from anyone who owned crypto AG technology or was running their base through crypto AG technologies. It's no secret that the CIA knows just about everything and they have backdoors to literally everything, but it is crazy when these stories come out because the way they go about having these backdoors is absurd. That is the end of the first tier of our iceberg. The rest of them, I'm going to give you this warning right now so that way when I do eventually make those videos, are going to get crazy. Very, very fucking crazy. And some of them might even get very brutal because the CIA has done a lot. Now, just a reminder, all this happened allegedly in Minecraft and I have no intention of taking a ride down the sewer. So just letting you know, that's not going to happen. I am perfectly physically fit. My heart is fine. I will not have a heart attack randomly, so if I randomly stop uploading, it was not my intentions. Anyways, if you like this video, please go ahead and leave a like. Please go ahead and subscribe and comment down below. Let me know what you think. And let me know if I should add anything to this iceberg if it's not already on. We have a Discord, by the way, boys. I said it in the beginning of this video. I'm going to say it at the end. We have a Discord that is in the making right now. I will have it in the description below, and it will be the pinned comment down below as well. So if you want to join that, please go ahead. That would be really cool of you to do. I'm trying a bunch of different stuff with the channel at the moment. We're just kind of throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And hopefully this one does because I really like doing these types of videos. And hey, if you haven't already, please go ahead and check out my last video. I thought it was pretty good. So, bye. Special thank you to all of my members who have joined over the past month. You guys have been the most supportive people on the planet. Hopefully you guys enjoy the perks. And if you want to become a member as well, you can do that for only $5 a month. I'm not going to add anything silly to this part just because I kind of forgot to record it for this video. So